You good, Owen? Good. Hello, hello, hello. There we go. We'll do that again. We're going to call the Derry Conservation Commission meeting to order. I ask people to silence their cell phones, including myself. And we're going to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, emergency exits are located in the back of the room and to my right. If there's a problem in the building, please don't use the elevators, use the stairs. If you need assistance on the stairs, please ask one of the commissioners for help. We'll start off with an introduction of commissioners, starting to my right.
Jay Hildreth.
Val Connolly.
Eileen Chabot.
Bob Sproul.
Beth Carver.
And I'm the chair, Ricardo Bazanga. First order of business is approval of minutes for October 20, 2025. Everyone should have a copy of them. If there's no adjustments needed, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting on October 20th.
I have one correction to the minutes. Under the land manager's report, it mentions 30 Hover Hill Drive, and that's Hubbard, Hubbard. Hubbard Hill. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, so you can amend your motion.
I'd like to amend my motion for the approval of the minutes from October 20th with the correction made by land manager Beth Carver to correct the spelling of Hubbard in the land manager's report.
This is the first on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, first on the floor by Val, second by Bob. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. First order of business tonight. First, we'll talk briefly. There's a site plan review on the agenda, 65 Kilray Road. We had a conservation walk and a conservation meeting this afternoon, and we walked the property, discussed a number of concerns with the applicant, and the applicant agreed to our suggestions, and the chair signed the plan at that meeting. We opened and closed that meeting earlier today, and it was noticed. Second order of business tonight is site plan review, 84 Island Pond Road, map 6, block 017. This is the property that we walked probably a couple of weeks ago now with the applicant, and it looks like there were some revisions made to the plan. If you could just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Jake Dorfler. I'm with Dubay Group. I'm representing
Jake?
Dorfler.
First name Jake?
Jake, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm representing Belize Real Estate Holdings. I know since your site walk, the main concern was that pond that was tucked into the back there next to the wetland. And I heard some whispers from the board members that noticed that the pond is gone. So we were able to remove the pond completely and still make our drainage numbers work. So we were able to do that. So there's no impact further into the site. The stormwater from the road goes into a plunge pool and down a vegetated slope, or vegetated swale, and then out, it sheet flows out, spreads out into the natural buffer that's right there.
That's great.
So obviously that was the biggest change that you see from the plans, and from what I understand with the sidewalk is that was the big concern with you. So that's really the biggest change.
Okay. And what page do you identify like where the outflow comes out?
So that would be on sheet 6. It's basically the same location as before. It's right between lots 17-2 and 17-3. Oh yeah, I get this up right.
All right, let's see if we can get, all right, we get sheet 6 coming up on the screen. And let's see.
Right here in this location.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Yep.
It goes into a plunge pool and then down a vegetated swale and then disperses out into the grass.
Now, that's going to be considered a drainage easement, that area there?
There will be an easement there for the town of Derry, yep.
Okay, so the town of Derry is going to be responsible for maintaining that plunge pool and...
My awareness, yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, any questions from the commissioners on this site plan?
For the responsibilities, is that going to be with help with DPW or the Conservation Commission?
Just for the record, I'd like to acknowledge that Commissioner Cheryl has joined the group. Good evening, Cheryl. Okay, hearing no questions or comments on this plan, at this time would be appropriate to have a motion to have the chair sign the plan.
I'll move that the chair sign the plan for 84 Island Pond Road, map 6, block 17, as revised.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor by Eileen to have the chair sign the plan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Val and Jay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition? Motion carries. You're all set. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Does anybody want to keep those 11 by 17s or give them back to the applicant? I'm going to hold on to the big one.
I definitely just wrote on mine.
Okay, that's fine. Are you going to have Mylars to sign, or do you want me to sign this one?
We go to planning board, when do we go? Whenever the next planning board meeting is.
Okay. So you can just let them know that the chairs agreed to sign the plan as presented, and then there'll be Mylars at the planning office that I'll sign off on once you're all done.
The other departments have signed a paper copy. We have, it's, so, if you take this one, I'll sign it and give it back to you.
These two before.
What? Today's date? The 3rd?
The third.
I'll take an 11 by 17 if you have it. Give you this one back. Bright red pen so no one can mistake it.
Okay for us to keep this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for making that change. Appreciate it.
Just grab your flash drive. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. Yep, thank you. Wouldn't it be nice if all of our site plan reviews went like that? Can meet twice a year. Okay, next up, we have correspondence. 2 items of correspondence. One is a shoreland protection application permit for 19 Whitney's Grove Road in Derry. I'll pass it to my right. Second piece of correspondence is we've had an applicant for that we have 2 remaining seats available on the commission as alternates, and we received a request from a constituent, Christopher Morlock, and he is going to be brought before the council, the town council tomorrow night. And I'll pass that to my right. This is his application. And that's all I have for correspondence. Chair's report will be brief. We doing that on correspondence?
Was I bringing up the reimbursement?
Yeah, let's do that on correspondence. Val has, I'll withhold my chair's report. Val's got a couple of items in correspondence that she has to address.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the treasurer to reimburse Commissioners Chabot and Hildreth for the NHACC conference fees, $60 each for a total of $120.
And that's going to be, if you'll accept the friendly amendment,
Absolutely.
that money will be taken from the administrative account. All right, so there's a motion on the floor to reimburse 2 commissioners for their class costs totaling $120. Funds to be taken from the administrative account. Is there a second? Thank you, Cheryl. So we have a first and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries. Val, do you have anything else? Was that it?
Receipts down here, so,
Yes, I'll send the receipts to Ray. I think that was it, though. It's just that.
thank you.
I want to thank Val for acting as vice chair tonight in the absence of Vice Chair Metz. Okay, back to the chair's report. So today we had a site walk at 65 Kilray, went really well. There's a couple issues we had that were resolved right on the spot, and it was, what's it called, a PBN? What's the
It's a PBN.
Yeah, so it was a PBN
By
application.
notification.
Yeah, permit by notification, and the way that process works is if the applicant can get the conservation, and help me if I'm wrong on this, Eileen, so if the applicant can get the Conservation Commission chair to sign the application, it expedites the process.
That's the review, so that DES reviews it within 10 days. If they don't get the Conservation Commission signature, then the DES has 25 days to review it.
Yeah, so it gives the applicant a 15-day kind of acceleration to let them continue through their process. So I think we should try to do that as often as we can. And it lets us chime in, because in the alternative, we get notified of and we have 10 days to respond. Is it 10 days to respond, Eileen?
We have 14 days to respond.
But sometimes we don't get it for
Sometimes we don't, if we
13
don't
days.
get it from the town clerk, because it goes, that clock starts the minute the town clerk receives it and signs it, that she's received it,
Right.
the clock starts ticking.
Yeah, regardless
We
of.
don't have it in our hands.
Yeah, regardless if we have a meeting or not, yeah. So doing it this way, it allows us to be involved in that process. And in today's case specifically, we were able to make some adjustments to benefit our community
Right.
and its resources. So we should try to do that as much as we can. And that is all I have for Chair's report. The first report we have for committees is Jay with the community garden.
Yes. Beth and Val and I got together and turned what could be a lonely task of people having to go out in the gardens alone in the cold winds and cleaning up their refuse from the long gone summer season. We turned it into an event. And I believe we've agreed on November 15th, Saturday, November 15th. There is an email drafted that we probably need more details. Beth will handle that information. But we also want to have, food and community. That's what it's about. Have the community gardeners have some community experience. Also, we want to do a soil test after the cleanup and submit it to the University of New Hampshire soil testing program. I'm getting the details on that process. I have an email into the extension service. Haven't gotten a response yet. I'm just looking for which form of the 3 forms they have would I be wanting to fill out. So, but that's pretty much, I have a handle on that and taking the sample. The At the NHACC meeting last Saturday, I took a workshop on climate gardening, and there was a lot of very interesting information about the climate data does show that we are experiencing extremes. This was a University of New Hampshire Extension Service Master Gardener giving this program. Overall, we are, in our New England area, we're wetter. Now, how would that explain this summer? Well, there are also extremes. There's something called flash droughts. So what we had this summer was a flash drought. But overall, we've been wetter. So what do we do to mitigate this situation? There's a lot of things to do with that we already had in mind, different kind of beds, raised beds, mulches. I learned that, tomatoes actually can burn out and burn in the sun. So there are shade covers to prevent plants from burning. I always thought tomato wanted all the sun it could get, but so I have more information about this later. I have to go through the packet and my notes, and I will like to present this in various forms later on and incorporate it into our plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Personnel, Mr. Metz is absent tonight. The only thing that I would restate is that we've had our third applicant for alternate membership to the Conservation Commission. So we have one available seat. If he's approved, which I expect him to be, we'll have one seat available as an alternate. Next, we have public outreach, and Cheryl's got exciting news. At least I'm excited about it.
Yes, very exciting. I had a meeting with Beth. It was really...
Cheryl, is your little green light on at the base?
Oh.
Right here on the mic.
Oh, on the mic. Okay, there we go.
There you go. Got it.
So we had a really great meeting. That was a combination of first, like, kind of establishing a core to work from, to kind of resurrect the Facebook page. Facebook tends to be more local, where something like Instagram tends to be like a different demographic, like maybe between 18 and above. So to start with some practical core where we go back to that Facebook page. Beth went in, and we have a plan for just maintenance, switching up the banner, which would be seasonal, maybe monthly, having seasonal photos, which reflects nature and what's going on with nature in the season as a draw. And then we talked about like establishing a schedule where we post regularly upcoming meetings that the community knows that the meeting is coming in advance of, and perhaps if there's anything that is noteworthy for the community afterwards, that can be posted afterwards. It's certainly also a natural place for posting the kind of thing Jay is talking about, community oriented, like work type sessions or anything that we do that can spill over into something that is community oriented. Even a cleanup session where people like meet and grab a nosh or something afterwards. Like, these are all things that build community and interest in it. There's also a lot of activity on Bring Derry Together, which is a Facebook page. It is very, very active on many, many topics. And that is something that we need to establish in our schedule to be just regularly posting. It could even just be beautiful pictures of nature to just have us be on the radar so the community knows we exist and know what our passion is and what we're about. Like, that's a real start. It's just when we're excited and we show that and we post it, other people become excited. And then, of course, that is a channel for sharing information that we think is relevant. So that is like a core foundation where we're going to hold a meeting for the committee to be able to like actually get that on a schedule. And Beth, thank you for putting in the new photo and kind of bringing it back to life. We also did a bit of vision casting. and just really realizing the potential for something like this. To then say, for example, we do this for a year, we see how it goes, 6 months to a year, and then maybe reach out into Instagram, which you're really going to catch a younger demographic who are going to be interested in the kind of topics that Jay just talked about. That's all kind of future things, but those things do kind of evolve naturally from what we're starting with. And again, it's the more we want to get together as community and build that around what we already do, the more we have that content that can be posted. And anything that we do is potentially something that is content. Like when people are planting in their gardens, that's content. Where people are getting together, that's content. So another thing we could do is establish people who would be available to take photos, to take short videos when we do the things we do, so that we have an archive to pull from to post that content. So that's that. And I'll just follow up with my neighbor, Jake White, who really wanted to be here. He is just had approval for that nonprofit, which I brought up last time. And, honestly, that's kind of like an indirect community response to who we are, what Jake is doing. He wasn't feeling well, so he couldn't come tonight, but he perhaps wants to come in the beginning of December. It's called Earthbound and Wild Collective, and he just has a lot of excitement. He's really starting from scratch, so he really would just like to share what some of their vision is, and the whole idea is to raise funds for conservation that we're doing. So that's what's happening out there.
Awesome. Cheryl, I have a question. At our site walk today, we took some great pictures. Val has a couple. I have a couple. What would be the proper protocol to get? So who do we send the pictures to? Do we have that established yet, or not?
It's sort of happening between Beth and I. And I guess we can really just refine that. What basically it is that one of us or both of us, even just using your phone is really kind of the easiest thing, because you're always posting from phones. And we can just establish what that is and make it easier for everyone, because actually anyone can take a photo. And then, just text me that photo. I will have a folder on my phone. Perhaps Beth you can have one on yours as well. And then once we have our schedule for posting, we can draw from that. And you can feel free too, if you're inspired by something, to say, hey, I think this would be a very good post. Can you take a look at this? Share a few words if you'd like to, because there's always a caption with a post. So just send whatever along. And, I have some editing apps that I use for my bread business social media. And, we can make it look consistent from an editing app like that, so that it kind of meshes with what we're posting, and it'll have a nice look to it. So just feel free to send anything. I can share my number. And, Beth, we didn't really establish that part, but I know that you had started with the Facebook page. So, we can be in touch with each other about that too.
Can we do it through email?
Yeah, I would add one caveat to that email sending, because Val sent me a couple of photos via text, which was great. I was able to use them still. But in that made me realize that sending via email is a little more, because I ended up emailing them to myself from my phone so that I could have access to it on my computer. So I would say for me, email would be easier.
So do you want to, can we establish that one protocol right now?
So Cheryl phone. I do everything from my phone. I do massive things from my phone. So maybe Cheryl phone is a good way to communicate if we just know that, and Beth email. Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So before I want to put a button on this. We took pictures today for our site walk. I have some. Val has some. Where are we sending them?
So right now, I still need to get Cheryl set up with the permissions on the Facebook. I'm meeting with Doug this Friday.
So you want us to send them to land manager?
These ones you can send to land manager. Yep.
Okay. So for right now, until further notice, we're going to email to land manager, and then you can quarterback them to Cheryl?
Yeah. Or we can, Beth, as well have a system. We can talk about that, where everything goes into, say, a folder through land manager, and then you can forward to me if you want me to take it and do some
You could just
texting.
perpetually have the link.
Sure, yep.
Right? Yeah.
We can
So-
just have sort of a funneling process there.
Yeah, and we have, with the Public Outreach Committee, we have another meeting scheduled
Yes.
where we plan on ironing out details exactly like
Yep.
that, so,
All
yeah.
right, so for today's stuff, we will email and maybe use 65 Kilrea Road site walk photos as our,
Yeah, and any context that you can add to it also is super helpful, especially like since I wasn't there, like, you know, any little blurb that you can give us that'll like get us started with
with
writing
the
that
description.
copy.
Okay.
I don't feel like in terms of writing it,
Yeah,
don't get hung
just-
up on that.
right.
Like I've done a lot of editing, and so just, you can send the sloppiest thing as long as it has the sentiment of what your message is there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Eileen, Eileen had
I
something.
just wanted to add, you were talking about like current stuff, but I have a lot of really, I think, very good photos that I've taken over the years of our conservation areas, like Doolittle and Broadview and Gulf Road and some others. Would we be able to add some sort of maybe historical section that looks at our conservation lands through the years, maybe, to enlighten people? Good
work.
You know.
We can definitely do that. There are a number of sort of streams from these social media platforms where you can have something regularly happening. Like, it can be anything from saying, okay, once every so often, we're going to post a historical piece, which can also then carry over to the banner, which is the first thing you see. That would be like,
I
say,
have dates, so
Facebook.
I can give
If we
you
got into Instagram, there are these little sections that have titles to them that would be a
looks back
historical.
at-
So there's a number of ways to do that, and I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
I know you want to put a wrap on this, but I just have one more thing I would like to add in terms of getting photos over for, just a thought for your planning meeting, in terms of building community and that involvement in it, having a more direct, like we just email it to land manager or whatever, having somewhere that the community in the future, I know it takes growth and stuff, but having the community to send photos, hey, this was what we did on your conservation land, I think would also be another good avenue for getting photos over. I know you want to button that up, but
Yeah.
just
Maybe
throwing it out
encouraging people to tag, now that we have, they can tag us or, check in at the different, that's a good idea. There's a way to do that. I'll make a note to talk about that.
Thank you, Cheryl. Excited about that. That's been on my radar for at least 10 years now, so I'm glad glad we got it done. TRC, Mr. Metz, again, is absent. I know he's attended 2 TRC meetings in the past 2 weeks. I think that's become a huge, vital part of our interaction with things coming through the pipeline, so. State compliance, Eileen.
Okay, I attended a couple of really good workshops at the NHACC annual meeting on Saturday. One had to do with New Hampshire lakes, and I have quite a lot of information that I can share. The NHACC is going to post all the presentations that were made so that we can download all that information. We can share it with the commission. It was a lakes one, and then the second one had to do with, which is very pertinent, had to do with DES review of wetlands applications. And so that was quite good as well, and that gave all the timelines for the different applications, how much time we get. Someone asked, could we get an extension to be able to comment if we decide we want to intervene and we want to provide comments to the DES? And we were told the applicant can get an extension, but
We
the
can't.
commission can't.
No, I know we ran into that
So
on
we're
one.
bound by a certain period of days that we have. And so we really have to kind of get a good relationship with our town clerk, because the minute she signs an application, because only one gets received now instead of 4, it used to be
Right.
4. She only gets the one, and she signs it. Once she signs it, the clock starts ticking, and we've got to dig in right off.
Yeah.
And if we want to intervene, we just need to send an email to DES saying, we want to intervene. This is that simple.
Yeah.
And then we can send them our comments, and she said they do insert all of our comments into their permit and make sure that the applicant
Sees it.
addresses them.
Yeah.
Fully addresses them. And if we see a final permit that's come come to us, as we often do, once the DES signs off on a permit, and we get to see it, that it's been approved. If we don't like it, we can appeal it.
10 days, right?
Commission, we have the right to appeal it.
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, so lots of good information.
Awesome. Okay, Mr. Spurl, property maintenance. I know you had a little field trip, I think today, right? About a bridge?
I went over Sunday and reviewed that bridge that we heard about being in a slippery condition, and it is, as I call it, cattywampus, because if a tree is going over and lifting the bridge on one corner, suggestion is it's a dead tree, cut the tree off and either pull the stump back up and over if it doesn't flop over back by itself, or cut the root off. But otherwise, I walked the whole loop over at Coleman, or Cole Marsh.
Yep.
It's
That's where the
findable, but it certainly is in need of some repair on the other bridges, and could use a good blazing, the whole
Yeah.
loop. So,
Okay.
Okay, the bridge that needs some help, we're going to put that on our list for a future Eagle Scout project. And then I'm going to forward your suggestion to DPW on mitigating the slope on that other bridge.
yep.
Rick, that was something that came up while we were like talking and brainstorming out some other things, is contacting Boy Scouts for those types of volunteer opportunities. And I didn't know if we had like an avenue for doing that or something that was more formal from.
It's something, we need to open up that line of communication.
I'd also.
Why don't you get us a bullet point on that, on figuring out first? I know there's a couple of troops that are involved with Derry, but why don't you and I figure out a way to open up a line of communication with the troop,
Okay.
so they know that we're looking for Eagle Scout project type stuff.
So on that,
Yeah.
we do have contact information from a couple of scout troops when they wanted to camp at Broadview.
Right.
So we have that, and we did, I guess, include a caveat that they could camp at Broadview, in exchange for some service.
remember that, yeah.
So that's already, that's a good bridge, I would say.
All right, so why don't we jump right to an action item then, if we have that already? So why don't you and have Jay draw up a solicitation letter, saying Conservation Commission has some projects that need attention. Are there any Eagle Scout opportunities, in the future that we could partner with you guys on? Is that something you and Jay can put together?
Sure.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay, land acquisition, we continue pursuing the non-public land acquisition that we're working on. I haven't got any more feedback since we talked to the folks at SELT regarding that. As soon as I get more information on that, I'll report out on it. And reporting compliance, Val.
Alrighty. So, last meeting, I went over the sidewalk that I did at Corneliuson. I'm still waiting to hear back about those tree stands, so I have yet to submit the report to make sure I'm still falling within the 30-day window of notification. Another thing that I had mentioned the other week was the Karis property, figuring out if SELT was monitoring and sending a copy of the report to NHDES for the wellhead protection that it kind of spans. And I did hear back that SELT does in fact do that and send a copy over to the report. The only information that I was able to find from past correspondence was an aerial monitoring. I did not find the report, the actual report for that, which I'd seen in some other documents for other places, but I just want to confirm that that's there and have them get back to me with a copy.
They must have it, right?
Yeah, I'd assume since they'd done that aerial monitoring before that, if it's not already complete, I'm just waiting to see if I can get a copy.
Okay. Thank you, Val. Yeah. Before you start, Beth, should we move land manager up? I kind of feel like, should we move that? Do you think it would be more appropriate to do that at the beginning of the meeting as opposed to after all our reports?
I think that you all cover a lot of what I have in my report, in your reports. And then, so you can all just kind of, cover the things, and then
you
I
can
can fill
modify
in the
yours?
gaps at the
Okay,
end
all right,
if
cool.
there are any, yeah.
Okay. Beth?
All right, so there was the NHACC annual conference, as was mentioned. It had a great workshop on identifying invasive species. That was fun that they had field trips in addition to like the sit-down workshops. So that was good. And then also on, Jay and I were in the same workshop on natural resources inventory, which that was nice to get sort of a bird's eye view of that process. I know Cheryl had mentioned that she wouldn't be able to be there in person, but if there was anything available digitally, right? So NHACC does have a YouTube channel, and they have a lot of really useful YouTube videos on there. So that is definitely something to check out, as well as just their website. I was noticing they have like if you just go to their website under resources, which is actually now linked on the Derry conservation website as well. So we have a learning opportunities section on our website. And any of the NHCC resources will just kind of be a perennial I link in that section, I think, because of all the great information that they have. So that's the annual conference. And then on fire safety, we met with the core team, including John Neely, and reviewed the CWPP, and we've kind of divided some of the work into sections that suit our backgrounds and interests to dive deeper into, and we're going to come together again this week to just kind of review what we've been able to do so far and establish a cadence of how often we want to meet going forward. And that is fire safety. Jay covered everything under the community garden. I did put so the garden cleanup event will be Saturday, November 15th from 9:30 to 11:30. And then we'll have a rain date of the Sunday following at the same time. Hopefully it doesn't rain. And then, so for property maintenance, the brush hogging at Broadview did take place. So that has been done, as well as Normandu was visited the Broadview Annex to do their natural resources inventory. I'm told that we will get that within the month. We'll get that back. And then I did reach out to DPW to see if they would be able to help us finish up the the projects that we have at Corneliuson. And Clint Haven said yes, they would be happy to help with that, so thank you. That basically the volunteers from Derry Track Club and Bob were able to clear the brush and small trees that were there. And DPW is going to come through and just kind of level it because there's a lot of, pillow and cradle topography there.
That was actually the excavators, actually, I think, dug out the road and
interesting.
out the dirt there. So
Oh, okay.
close.
Yeah, okay, I'm trying. So they'll be able to help with that, as well as helping with some trees that need to be taken down that are kind of a hazard on the other end of the trail there. So for public outreach, I did go ahead and take the liberty of posting our first social media share today, in addition to the profile picture and I'm blanking on the name, the background picture there, and just shared the photo that Val shared with me of us at the annual meeting, and let people know of the meeting this evening, because that was something that we talked about, just having a regular cadence of that. Right, so Instagram is, I think, an opportunity to have the town reassess their social media. Right now, Instagram is not listed as like an approved social media network to use by the town. And I think that when the social media policy was made, Instagram was pretty new. So in that year, that'll be a good thing to look at. So, okay, I talked about the link. Oh, so they mentioned at the NHCCC meeting that they will have upcoming opportunities for towns to host workshops. Like they have some workshops in the works, and that basically we need to reach out if we are interested in hosting workshops in Derry. I'll make a leap and say that I think that we are and that we should reach out, but it would be good to get confirmation on that if I should reach out to Barbara Richter saying that we would like to host some workshops here.
Yes, we should absolutely do that. Do we need a motion at all for that?
Do that.
And then,
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
awesome. And then with the naming properties project, so we have sort of a rough list, right, of properties that don't have a proper name. And I was wondering if that might be a good project to lump in with like the reporting compliance research project that we have going, Val, Bob, and I, where we, because the certain properties may have, correct me if I'm wrong, required in the easement that it go by a certain name. So that might pair well with that
Absolutely.
project. And that's oh, was there something else? I think that is it. Oh, and Rick and I have had a weekly phone call the past couple weeks, which I've found extremely helpful, just to orient myself as far as like, you know, what we're working on, what we're getting done next, and little nuances that come up throughout the week. So we've been doing that, and that's been helpful.
Yeah, I think it's been really helpful, really, really good. Oh, and I can't say enough good things about Beth's kind of workflow and the way she gets things done. And I think I'm going to have a little surprise on the screen for a second. Can we get that up? Derry TV?
It might be on the stream, but just not on the big screen.
It should be on all of them in a minute.
Here he is.
Hey, Owen.
Owen will try to get it on the screen. They're zooming in on it.
Oh, I see.
Hey, there we go. Who are those people? So that was at your...
We made history on
Yeah,
Saturday. as
that
I
was it.
explained to everyone there in the picture. It's been many years since we had 4 of our members attend the NHCCC annual meeting, so that was a record, attendance.
Yeah, so that's a picture off the Facebook page.
Yeah, we
That's
made
great.
history.
Yeah,
I got lots of plants. It was heaven.
yeah. Yeah, I don't, and again, I don't want to take that to get lost. Beth is doing a great job, and before the meeting, I said there's a lot of people in my life that make me look good, and Beth is definitely one of the people that makes me look good. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Council liaison report, I'll take Charlie on that. So we have our new alternate going before the council tomorrow night, and we'll see if he gets approved. I have no update on conservation activities. Tammy, if you could, Tammy's the other person that makes me look good. If you could add other business between update of other conservation commissions, conservation activities and non-public meeting, just from now moving forward, just so we have a slot to bring up stuff that we brought up in correspondence would go in there. And I don't think we have a need to go into non-public, so we'll add an agenda item for other business. If any commissioner has anything they need to talk about or bring up, this would be the time to do that.
Okay, I would like to mention the consequence of our NHNACC meeting. There's a lot of information we were absolutely poured on in those workshops. Not only going over the material we were reviewed, but going to the originators, the hosts of these workshops. They're a source of knowledge, and there's going to be a lot of information incorporated over a period of time. I was noting as we go out to the site walks how important it is, and of course Derry is surrounded and inundated with wetlands, so our site walks often, almost all the time, interact with the wetland. I went to a wetland workshop and obtained a lot of information at a very fast pace with 3 different stations at a it was a swamp with a lot of beaver dams, and the thing that fascinated me was the determination of what is a wetland by soil analysis, the hydric soils, and I have a lot of information to obtain, and I was just looking at a list I want to put together, and I was talking to Eileen about this, that there's a lot of information that we should have handbooks that's available so we could do a spot analysis of a particular area where we want to know is it wetland or not. And there's supplemental information from the Army Corps of Engineers. The Army Corps of Engineers actually had created a national framework for evaluating wetlands. But also there are other, besides New Hampshire's, DES, the person giving the workshop also recommended some really awesome Massachusetts DEP wetland manuals. Now there's lots of wetlands are determined by the soils, but also by the plant growth and other landmarks around there, and we really would do very well to have this information. We already have spades to do a core dig into a wetland and get a profile of this type of soil. So we need to have the way to interpret it. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Jay. Any other information or requests from commissioners? Eileen?
Last meeting, we talked about someone's request for target shooting on conservation lands. I just want to say that I think we ought to lay down some rules for that. I'm very concerned about the impact that could happen to our conservation lands if we just inadvertently allow any kind of target shooting. There needs to be some rules laid down about what kind of targets would be used, what kind of ammunition would be used, when would they be doing this target shooting, because people are hiking our trails, we don't want anyone to get hurt. We certainly don't want, we want, as people are hiking, to leave no trace so that our conservation lands are left in good condition. The other thing I wanted to mention was we do have, right in Chester, we have a rod and gun club, which is perfect for someone to do target shooting. We should be asking the public to look into those kind of resources because those are specifically designed for target shooting, whereas our conservation land is really designed for people to hike and get outdoors and enjoy themselves in a peaceful surrounding. I think that we ought to educate the public on that.
I kind of agree and then I don't. I mean, conservation property, I think, is different to the beholder, right? I mean, some people think that, You know, it's for one thing, and for others. I do agree that we should have some rules. I'd be questioning, I'd probably defer to Bob, can we, as a commission, enact rules that are more strict than state rules?
Good question.
It is a good question. When it comes not to hunting, I mean, to hunting, I know you can establish where
Our own
hunting.
properties, I would say yes. But we
Londonderry,
you can't be doing it on everybody else's property,
And probably not properties that
Yeah.
are easements, right?
on the town properties, yeah. But all of that still, I've asked Charlie, how do we get rules enacted pertaining to those properties?
So Eileen, why don't we do that? Why don't we get Charlie on board with us on that? And figure out what we can and can't do. Let's start with that. And then based on that, then we'll come up with an action plan.
and I think we could probably consult with the Town of Londonderry Conservation Commission, because they had problems just a few years ago, with target shooting on their properties.
I don't want to alienate target shooting as a problem, because I myself am a target shooter.
No, I'm saying we need to lay down some rules.
No, I get it.
Don't ruin what we have, I don't want to see the conservation lands,
Right, no, and I agree with you. But there's a whole segment of people
and I don't
that
want
are,
to see anyone get hurt either, because that can happen.
you're right, and I think people that are responsible target shooters would never create a situation that would be a safety item for someone else. But as a target shooter, constituents in this town all use our properties for different reasons, and I just don't want to alienate anyone that their thing is target shooting, just like I don't want to alienate anyone that their thing is bird watching or hiking or what it might be. Everyone has different use for conservation properties. That doesn't mean I don't agree with you. I mean, I do agree with you. We should have standards for everything. So I think the best way to move forward is to talk to Charlie, find out what powers we have to do that stuff, and then go from there. And Val, I know you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if because while we've been working on some of the, kind of rules and regulations, getting that down, Bob, you had mentioned RES 7300 and NCR 730 with rules and enforcement. Do you think that's something that this would kind of fall under, to kind of bring to Charlie with some of our...
Those are specific to the state lands,
Right, yes.
to our
but-
department. You could copy those rules, is what you're asking.
Yeah, well, that was just something that you had said to refer to when we're trying to get that template of like that one-stop listing for our properties. Here are the properties you can do this. Here are the properties where it's restricted, that kind of thing. And that's something we might be able to incorporate. And I mean, of course, talk to Charlie about how about going forward about enforcing those once we get that forward and that kind of stuff.
I think that the rules, those specific rules, are incredibly lenient, like really lenient.
Okay.
Much more lenient than I think what Eileen is
looking for something a
yeah,
little
what Eileen
more,
is talking about.
Right,
The state
right.
rules are
towards our
really
property.
really lenient.
Right. I was just kind of trying to bridge the two things, like trying to find some similar backgrounds of what I'm working on now to see going
Gotcha.
forward with other stuff.
There may already be rules pertaining to some of the other properties, like Hood Park or some of those. We could just expand on that by continuing the list of properties that are protected by those rules. I don't know yet,
they-
because I haven't had the conversation with Charlie yet.
I'm not seeing those rules, huh?
Yeah,
Fish and Game has their own set of rules on,
hunting,
well, even
any game, yeah,
Yeah.
game and non-game.
but even not hunting. There's rules that Fish and Game has in specific communities, like Derry, good example. Let's use Derry as an example. In Derry, there's certain caliber of firearms that can be discharged within the town boundaries. It's a Fish and Game rule. It's not an RSA. It's not a state law. It's a Fish and Game rule, but it applies to firearms on properties. So because of the density in the woodlands in Derry, there's only a certain caliber of firearm that can be discharged in the town of Derry. Bow has some unique rules, so there's some unique rules everywhere on that stuff. So But again, I don't think even those are what you're thinking about. I think what you're thinking about is something like,
Thinking about rules
yeah,
that
you're
would
thinking about
apply to
something.
our conservation land.
Yeah, so let's get with Charlie, see what we have for, even what type of ability we have to establish those rules, and that, I think that's a good starting point. Yes?
I wanted to also add that the NHACC has a listserv for when you have questions like that, like say your commission is
that's
struggling
good.
with a particular issue, where you can ask a question, does anybody in, the other towns across the state have rules on target shooting for their conservation land? And they could, you can connect with people easily across the state that way to find out about your particular issue.
Eileen, could you please repeat that resource again? The resource for, because we actually have a particular question in our neighborhood about caliber of weapon, which is very intense. And so I know that there are a number of neighbors in my neighborhood that are questioning the caliber. And so that's an example of a question. And if there's a place where
Right,
that
the
information
NHACC,
is
they have a
accessible.
listserv that allows you to, you have to sign up for it, but it allows you to ask those kinds of questions and find out how other communities are
Okay.
dealing with those particular issues.
Okay, thanks.
The other thing we should keep in mind is, and I'm a member of Chester Rod and Gun, the place you're talking about. And there's a lot of people from Derry that are members of that club. There's a lot of things you can do there. There's more things you can't do there that you can only do at a place that's not a gun club. Yeah. So the gun club has probably the strictest rules of any place when it comes to discharging a firearm. Much stricter at a firing range than not at a firing range. But one thing we should keep in mind is that there is a huge constituency of people in Derry, taxpayers, that use firearms, whether it be for hunting, for target practice, for personal protection, whatever it may be. But there's a lot of them. And when we talk about rules, we should always be thinking about, I think, we should always be thinking about if we're going to eliminate the ability to do something, I think the best way to eliminate it is to find a place where you can do it.
Right,
So-
that's why I was suggesting the Rod and Gun Club.
You're here.
No, but I mean, not a rod and gun club. I mean, a conservation property where things are encouraged than allowed. So if we're gonna try to limit scope of certain things on conservation properties, ideally, when a constituent comes to us and says, hey, I want to target shoot, what are the protocols? The ideal situation would say, hey, you can go to property B, where we encourage it because the slope is right, there's a good backdrop, there's clear sight lines, there's very little recreational dog walking there, whatever it may be. But so if we identified a place where it meets the criteria and would be a safe place, that would be a good starting point when you're responding to someone about target shooting. If we had a place already set up that we would encourage it, it's easier to say, hey, we don't love it at Broadview or don't allow it at Broadview, and I'm just picking places, but Colette's Mountain, that's wide and sparse and sand and has berms, and you can see 360 degrees in every direction, and there's not many people walking dogs there. Might be a good place to encourage it. So just keep that in mind when we're thinking about permitting things and not permitting things. And that's all I have.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn. If someone has one.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I'll second that.
Well, we have first from Val, second from Eileen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition? And it's 5 minutes of 8. Isn't that nice?
Woo.
Nice work. Good work.